Let's talk about Disney's Moana and how Maui's relationship with his adopted mother TeFiti really parallels a toxic relationship. Hey guys, welcome back to the Fangirl. I'm Megan, and as promised, I'm dissecting the connection between TeFiti and Maui today. If you haven't seen it already, I did do a video on Maui and narcissism, and his behavior towards TeFiti would certainly fit into that same spectrum. However, theirs is such an intense and important dynamic in the movie that I thought it warranted a dedicated discussion. So to just do a brief overview of their relationship, Maui was tossed into the ocean as a baby by his human mother. Somehow the gods found him and TeFiti kept Maui as a pet baby. It's unclear if she's also the one that rescued him as an infant, but I would venture to guess that the ocean found the baby and safely washed him ashore to TeFiti since, you know, she do be an island. Then Maui gets praise from mankind for pulling up islands, and Maui finds that he keeps getting more and more attention and affection with every new trick he does. So here he comes making coconuts, giving humans fire, you name it. Maui gives and gives to mankind because he wants to take and take that admiration. Then Maui takes it too far and steals the heart of TeFiti to bring it to man. And that basically rots TeFiti and causes her to transform into TeKa. Then skip ahead a bunch of years, Moana returns the heart, TeFiti returns to normal, and Maui is given a new fish hook, even though he literally broke the last fish hook on his mother while fighting with her. Such a weird, convoluted message there. Think about it. Maui never really apologizes for what he did, and he doesn't even really regret it. Yet he gets rewarded with powers again after severely abusing them the last time. This is horrendously codependent. But before I get too far ahead of myself ranting about the ending, let's back up and analyze this relationship properly. According to Maui's backstory, pun intended, he was tossed into the ocean as a baby, and for no given reason, TeFiti ends up adopting him. Now, we don't know a lot about TeFiti, but she uses her heart to bring life to all the islands, and she seems to be received positively by Moana's people. However, she is a goddess figure, and she seems to be very lonely and very empathetic, hence why she ended up saving baby Maui. And while those traits alone don't make for a bad person, it does set TeFiti up to be a codependent person. TeFiti is a goddess of creation, of life, and as such, her position is to be needed and to give and give and give without really getting back. I mean, what could you even give her? Flowers? Oop, she made those. A nice canoe? Well, she can't use it, and she made the trees they came from. So there is literally nothing that you can bestow upon TeFiti that she hasn't had a hand in creating, except for maybe human life. And while ritualistic sacrifice might make the movie more intense, it seems that adopting a baby was the way that TeFiti tried to fill that void of being lonely. So now this goddess, who has always been shown as alone, has this human baby that she bestows various powers on. And it's somebody who is completely dependent on her, who needs her. And all of that is a new experience for TeFiti, which also means that she is going to be very protective of Maui, likely to the point of obsessing over him and even overindulging him with gifts and blessings. Because let's be real, those magic tattoos had to come from someone else, because that ain't no standard issue human ink. And with TeFiti's nature to give and give and give, Maui was then raised to take and take and take. And it would also teach Maui that if you want someone to love you, you give of yourself endlessly whether you're getting back or not. So Maui was never modeled what a healthy human relationship should look like. And just like with anything else, as Maui was raised to accept and take, the more you get, the less you tend to appreciate, which could certainly lead to a lot of the narcissistic qualities that Maui has in the movie. Also, a lot of people don't get this, but narcissists are not born. They're created by trauma as a need for the narcissist to protect themselves. So, for instance, if you grow up with your mother telling you that you're the best thing ever and everyone else is making you feel like trash, you end up with this cognitive dissonance where your brain has to pick a side, and in the case of a lot of narcissists, they often end up picking the side where their mother told them that they were great and perfect. And that's certainly not a one-size-fits-all for how people become narcissists, but that's definitely one pathway to get there. So even if TeFiti had the best of intentions, if she is as codependent as I suspect she became, she would have realistically contributed to Maui's behaviors, not just by spoiling him as a child and telling him he's great, but by making sure that he's aware that he's got a sad past. Seriously, you remember nothing as a baby, and Maui's tattoos are supposed to be earned by his great deeds. So why does his back tattoo show himself being dropped into the ocean as an infant? That is not a deed he performed, but an injustice that was inflicted upon him, which means someone had to, 1, tell Maui that story so he'd know about it, and 2, forcibly make it a part of his tattoo history. Since the ocean doesn't seem to hold any powers beyond basic sentience, and TeFiti is the only god we interact with in the film, unless we count Tamatoa, and I'm not well versed enough in Maori mythology to know how Tamatoa is classified, but they do call him a monster, so I don't think he's a god. Which means that TeFiti herself both told Maui about his parents and made him bear a permanent reminder of the occasion. Yeah, when you take it all in, this is a super toxic relationship. And because codependent personality types can often get so preoccupied with saving a relationship at any cost that they are not above manipulating other people to get them to stay with them. So if TeFiti thought that Maui might actually leave her for good to be with the humans, she may have told him his backstory to make Maui feel insecure, indebted, and more grateful to his adoptive mother, which in turn would have caused Maui to vie for human adoration all the more, because Maui wanted humanity to recognize what they threw away, basically all of his greatness. And, you know, maybe there's also a PSA in there to think twice before you toss newborns into the ocean for no explicable reason. So the TeFiti Maui dynamic became this self-feeding trauma cycle where the mother figure was desperate to cling onto the relationship and not allow it to change so that she could find validation. And in turn, that caused the smothered child figure to go seeking external validation from humans, and he began to care less and less about what his mother gave and gave to him. It's kind of the same principle of superheroes creating supervillains. Maui could have been a nobody, or he could have been a demigod who did nothing but good things for the other gods. But because of how he was treated and how he was raised, Maui felt like he needed the humans to love him and adore him, partly because TeFiti did the same thing. And it's interesting because when Moana first finds Maui in the movie, Maui treats her like a narcissist treats a new supply. He turns his charm dial up to an 11, and he sweet talks her and promises her this wonderful world that, when things stop reeling, Moana and the audience can see that it was all fake. Maui gave her nothing. He did nothing for her. It was all a ruse to get what Maui wanted, which was positive attention from basically strangers. And once Moana's eyes are open and she knows that Maui is a trickster, Maui genuinely doesn't care if he causes harm or discomfort to Moana for most of their interactions. And he feels no guilt about what he does. And it's all because he's been raised to be entitled to take and never have to give back. or more specifically, to only give to those he fears rejection from. Because Maui claims to have given tons of things to mankind, but he never once mentions a gift to TeFiti, as he's never had to work for TeFiti's love, and she was endlessly giving to Maui. But because Moana wanted something from Maui, she was demanding from him and not just taking his fake gifts with a smile, Maui could literally have cared less if Moana drowned. Had Moana washed up to shore saying something like, "I don't know who you are and I don't care who you aren't special," I think that attitude would have made Maui work tirelessly to gain Moana's approval. But narcissists like to feel special, they like to get the adoration, but they also don't feel like they're worth it. So if you really give it to them in the way that would be healthy, they will often reject it and run away to find a new supply. Or really, I guess a better way to say it is that the other person makes you work to gain their favor. You can't just do a big parlor trick and be like, "Oh, I love you forever." And a narcissist has to be loved or they can't function. So if you don't love a narcissist immediately and you don't fall into that trap right from the jump, they will often discard you and go find new supply. So Moana putting expectations on Maui to do what she wanted him to do made him freak out and lock her in a cave. And I'm not saying that's right, I'm just saying if you understand narcissistic personality disorder, you could see that coming from a mile away. Really, you can see the self-esteem deficit in both Maui and TeFiti, and they were so toxic together that they made each other worse. Really think about it. Maui stole the heart of TeFiti, and it took her seconds to become TeKa. And granted, Maui took something from her, he damaged her and didn't care about it, and that was not okay at all, but TeFiti had zero self-preservation skills. Once she woke up to the fact that Maui didn't love her the way she wanted, the way she thought a son should, she fell apart because she had given so much to Maui that she had ended up giving him her own self-worth too. It's comparable to a super empath and a narcissist getting into a relationship together. When the super empath has taken in enough abuse, they'll go what's called supernova, where this hurt burst of reactionary abuse tends to come out and it causes the empath to act completely out of character, often emotionally wounding the narcissist that they were so in love with. It's sort of like having everything in you drained until you outwardly explode and you lash out at the narcissist that took everything from you. So once a super empath hits empty, it's like kaboom. However, the bigger problem here is that the super empath had every opportunity to walk away and prioritize their own mental health, but they don't. Often because they're too codependent to let go of the narcissist. They just want that difficult relationship to work. They want to be loved. They feel like it's not real love unless it's hard to get and they had to work for it and earn it, which also usually models abusive relationships in the super empath's past. And I don't say that to endorse victim blaming because Maui crossed an unforgivable boundary with TeFiti, but what was learned by the end? Moana returns TeFiti's heart to her, and without a second thought, TeFiti is fixing Maui's hook and acting like his horrendous behavior deserves no comeuppance. It's like if your friend dumps a horrible partner and takes them back a week later. No lessons were truly learned, nothing is going to be any better for them, and if anything, your friend is just enabling their partner's bad behaviors to get worse because your friend doesn't respect themselves enough to hold healthy boundaries, which that behavior often stems from a fear of being alone. So what lesson did the goddess and the demigod take from all of this strife and chaos that their relationship caused each other? Absolutely nothing. Toxic boy mom culture climbs to new heights here. So while Moana has a sound story arc, TeFiti and Maui have learned zilch and will continue this cycle of abuse until the end of time. How did Disney think this was a fine and dandy way to close things out? But what do you guys think? Leave me a comment and tell me about it. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.